And we're back for hour number 2 of the Crimson Pill here on bbsradio.com. We welcome back the listening audience, and we are very, very proud and privileged to have with us today internationally recognized author, lecturer, and teacher, Mr. Jordan Maxwell. Mr. Maxwell, before we pick up where we left off with our interview, the one thing I'd like to be sure we have a chance to discuss is how folks can learn more about your current work and also some of the information that you have available.
Well, just go to my website. It's jordanmaxwell.com. Very simple. Jordan is like the river, Jordan, jordanmaxwell.com. And a lot of stuff on there. Most people go and they'll see the home page, but they don't scroll down. They don't go to the research area. You know, there's a lot on my website, and it's going to be changed very soon, and a lot more is going on. So you need to go all through my website, because I have a lot of stuff there that you will never see if you don't go through it. Like on at the top of the page, you'll see a button that says research. Go to that, and it will open up a whole world of research material that you didn't even know existed. I have a lot of links on the links page. So if you're interested in this subject that we're talking about now, about law and governments and banks and how this stuff works, go to my links page and scroll down on the links page till you come to Commerce and Law. Commerce and Law on my links page, and read some of those, go to some of those websites. That the first two especially, the first 2 or 3 are very, very important websites, not mine, but other people's websites that I consider to be very important. And they will explain to you in minute detail what I'm just giving you concepts of. On my links page, scroll down to Commerce and Law and read it all. You'll see what I'm saying. You'll understand better once you read it yourself.
And I can provide a personal testament to that, having spent literally hours following link after link, story after story through that route. And I want to remind our listening audience that, folks, in our conversation here today, Mr. Maxwell and I are limited to try to convey to you literally thousands of pages and books and hours worth of content and information. We're trying to reduce this to bullet points for the sake of covering a lot of real estate in a very short amount of time. Please do, at your leisure, with your available time, follow these links, pursue this research. Don't take our word for anything. Be a Gnostic. Choose to know rather than merely to believe. And as a final testament that I would make as well, about a month ago, I purchased some DVDs from jordanmaxwell.com in the store section. And folks, if any of you are like myself and my loved one who have attended some of these conferences, whether it's MUFON or Conscious Living or the UFO Congress, for a fraction of the cost of attending those types of conferences, you can have literally hours of very detailed discussion on this information. And in particular, what I find most intriguing about Mr. Maxwell's work is the thoroughness that each subject is documented with a wide variety, a rich array of sources, whether it's from Black's Law Dictionary, the King James Version of the Bible, or 1,000 references in between. Each of these points are quite well documented. So while cognitive dissonance may be attempting to cloud your thoughts at this moment, please know there's an awful lot here to follow up and to document. Isn't that right, Mr. Maxwell?
Yes, very much so. I've been doing this over 50 years, and I've amassed an enormous amount of information that most people are not even aware exist. And so it's been very difficult for me to try and break through the training that people have had to not think, period. Americans especially have been trained and brought up and raised to understand that there's nothing important that you don't know. You know everything there is to know about everything. And all you need to do is just go out and go do your job and get a job and pay your bills and pay your taxes, and you can be entertained and never realizing for a moment that your human life is on the stock market in New York City, and that your very country and your very existence on the earth is owned and controlled by powerful institutions and powerful people in the world that you don't even know exist. So again, knowledge is power, and that's why Americans feel powerless, because they have no knowledge. I'm trying the best I can with what I have to work with to explain to people, wake up and understand how the world works. Someone is trying to help you, to educate you. This is a very difficult job to do, is to confront people with information they've never heard before.
Exactly.
Knowing full well that most people are not going to believe what you're saying because they've never heard this discussion ever.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, when we go back to this idea of going to a court, why do you go to court? Well, because you play basketball on a court. You play tennis on a court. How do you play tennis on a court? You play with a racket. And when you begin to understand words and terms that are used in courts and used in commerce, as a matter of fact, look up the very word commerce in a law dictionary, even a regular dictionary, but look it up in a law dictionary, the word commerce, because you think that means business. No, you got to go back and do your homework. Go to a law dictionary, look up the word commerce. Commerce is translated as sex. Sex is considered by law commerce. And therefore, look up the word Congress. You like to talk about the Congress of the United States and the congressman? Well, look up the word Congress. You will see that Congress, again, itself means sex. So both commerce and Congress are sexual terms. Look it up in a law dictionary. Read it yourself. And this is so as I said, why do you go to court? It's a game. It's called the commerce game. It's a game, and then, like any other game, you have two teams. You have one team of lawyers, one team, and the whole idea of the game is to put the ball back in the other guy's court. So you dance all around, one team dances all around, throwing the ball back in the other guy's court. Then those guys pick up the ball, and now they're going to throw the ball back in your court. And throws it back at them. And so it's a game that's going on, and obviously any game you have to have a referee. So the judge is a referee. He doesn't care who wins or loses. It doesn't matter to him. Somebody's going to win and someone's going to lose, but he's going to get paid anyway, so it doesn't matter. He is there to make sure the game is played correctly. So if you do something, one team does something wrong, well then you have to forfeit a point, and the other team gets to serve now because you made a mistake. So the judge is there as a referee in the game. And why we know he's a referee is because he wears a black robe. Why do judges wear black robes? Well, the same reason why when kids graduate from high school or university, they wear a black robe. What does a black robe mean? What does it symbolize? Well, wake up and discover that a black robe represents in international maritime admiralty law. It represents something. It means something if you wear a black robe. That's why judges wear a black robe. Catholic priests wear black robes. It's an incredible symbolism right in your face, but people have no idea in the world what they're looking at. Judges wear black robes because the color black was associated with the planet Saturn. Saturn was referred to as the Lord of the Rings. Of course, Saturn was Lord of the Rings. They're still making movies in Hollywood about the planet Saturn being Lord of the Rings. And Americans and people all over the world going to movies, watching the movie Lord of the Rings, never for a moment suspecting that what they're looking at is an occult story of an ancient god called Saturn. And Saturn was to be worshipped. And his day of worship was, of course, Saturn's Day, or Saturday. And this is why the Hebrews were worshipers of the planet Saturn, because they worship on Friday night to Saturday night is their Saturday, Saturn's day. And Saturn, the planet Saturn, in the old Phoenician language, in the ancient Phoenician, or what we call the ancient Hebrew, Hebrew is actually a Phoenician language. And in ancient Hebrew or Phoenician language, the planet Saturn was referred to as Shabbath. Shabbath was Saturn, and therefore the celebration each week of the dominance of the world by Saturn, Shabbath, was called the Sabbath. So therefore, if you keep holy the Sabbath, what you're doing is worshiping the Lord of the Rings. You're worshiping the planet Saturn. Wake up and understand where this stuff comes from. Because the more Christians and Jews are praying every day in their churches and synagogues, they're praying for God to protect them, for God to protect the world, for God's protection and for decency and whatever. And so Christians and Jews are praying to God all day long, every day. And the more they pray to God, the worse the world gets. Evil and violence and badness and wars and bloodshed and all of the filth and degeneracy is growing. It's getting worse and worse every day. So the question has to be asked, if all the Christians are praying to God, all the Jews are praying to their God, why is it that the world is getting worse by the day? Where is their God? Well, the bottom line is that they're praying to the planet Saturn. And once you understand that the very foundations of Western religion are based on the old astronomical or astrological concepts coming out of India, coming out of Egypt, Sumeria, Babylonia, Phoenicia, Cana, the old Akkadian religion, it's an extraordinary story of ignorance, ill-informed, unread ignorance, that people are crawling on their knees and praying to pagan gods, never realizing that they have totally missed their connection with the divine one that we call God. You know, the real God is not one of the planets. It's something that is it's a presence in the universe of a very highly intelligent, powerful, intellectual presence in the universe that men have called God. But the ancient peoples attributed godship to the planets.
Quite right.
And so the Hebrews were worshipers. You know, we're told that the Hebrews were the first monotheistic people on the earth, the first worshipers of one God. No, in point of fact, if you're educated, and most people in this subject aren't educated, but if you were, you would understand, no, go back to the reference books and go back to the library, and you will see that the Hebrews were not the first monotheistic people. Monotheistic means the worshipers of one God.
Mm-hmm.
The ancient Hebrews were Heno. It's spelled H-E-N-O. Go to a library, get a reference book, and look up the word H-E-N-O. Henotheistic. The Hebrews or the Jewish people were henotheistic, not monotheistic. Henotheistic means picking one God from a group. Picking